Hey kids, this is a continuation of the Thanksgiving episodes, and today we're actually going to make something that's inspired by the Mandalorian. That's right, kids, we're going to make, spoiler alert, Groku's favorite food, bone broth. So join us on today's episode of Castles, Capes, and Clones Cuisine, Bone Broth. So what is bone broth exactly? I think it's kind of a mix between stock and broth, which is essentially the same thing. It just really depends on what it is you're making the broth slash stock from. Say we're making chicken broth. You would be using pretty much a raw chicken, put it in some water, and then you boil it, and then you kind of let it simmer for a while, and it just extracts everything from the bones, the cartilage, whatever meat is left, and whatever. That is broth. Stock is when you use roasted chicken bones. Gives it a little deeper, richer flavor, I think. But either one will do. Today we'll be making turkey stock because we already roasted our turkey. So we're using basically we're using leftovers. So let's check out what we need, shall we? So to make the most basic stock, you're going to need, of course, the carcass of a roasted turkey. Now this will be the same thing if you had a roasted chicken, so if you ever get rotisserie chicken or whatever, save all of the bones, the chicken wings, the legs, everything. Just save it, stick it in a freezer bag, and stick it in your freezer. This is from our Thanksgiving dinner. So I'm going to use the whole thing, skin, whatever's meat's left, the bones, and basically what we're going to do is slow simmer this thing for like 16 hours. On top of this, I've got some vegetables that I use for Thanksgiving dinner. All the kind of scraps. You can see there's like onion, the onion skins are in here, the ends of the celery, the nubs of the carrots. This will add a little bit of flavor. What we're not doing is making a soup. So this won't be super flavorful, but we're going to make something that you can make into soup that you can use in other foods, because we're basically making an ingredient. So you kind of want it to be as basic as possible. What you want is that really fortified broth slash stock that adds a little bit of flavor to whatever you're making. Because if you're going to make something, you might as well use something that adds a little bit to it instead of water. So let's get cooking. So first thing you're going to need is something to actually make the stock in. A large vessel that you can heat slowly, basically. Because what we're going to do is kind of bring it up to a boil, but then take the temperature down and simmer this for a very long time. I am going to use a slow cooker-ish. So I have a Ninja Foodie, which is a slow cooker, pressure cooker, rice cooker. You can use it as a convection oven, so air fryer, and all these other kind of things. So it takes the place of a lot of different appliances. That's why I like it. And plus, my slow cooker is actually small. This actually holds a lot more than my slow cooker, so we got this. What we're going to do is toss in all of our turkey leftovers. Oops. Now, it's not the prettiest, but get the idea. And then we're just going to toss in all the vegetables we got. It doesn't matter what's in here. I mean, it does, but like the skin from here, the roots are in here, all the little nubbins from the carrots, the celery stalks, the end pieces. This is why when you're making anything with like vegetables, I would save the scraps. Again, put it in a nice Ziploc bag for the freezer and stick it in there. Obviously, this is from Thanksgiving dinner, but you know, if you buy a lot of like roast chicken, rotisserie chicken, things like that, save the carcasses and whatnot, put in the freezer, and then when you get probably about 2 chickens worth of bones, you can probably make a good stock. Usually I find like 1 chicken is not enough. So, you know, again, save everything. So what I'm going to do is fill this up with water up until, well, for this, there's a max line. But you kind of want to make sure most of it's covered. And then we're going to go ahead and put it in the foodie / slow cooker. Alright, so it's very simple. I've got this kind of covered in water, kind of making sure some of the things are in there. And then I'm going to stick it in my foodie / slow cooker. Awkward angle, awkward angle. Awkward turtles make weird babies. Oh, one more thing. So the only other ingredient I'm going to use is apple cider vinegar. It's supposed to help extract the nutrients from the bones. I don't know if it really does that. But I've been doing that, so you should too. Or you don't have to, I guess. Whatever. I'm probably going to put about 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup. That much. I'm not salting it, I'm not seasoning it, because again, this is just an ingredient I'm making. So whatever I'm going to use this in, I'll be seasoning that to taste. So I don't want to add any extra salt or whatever, just in case I've already added salt to whatever I'm making, or that's already salty enough for whatever it is. So if you're going to use a stock pot on a stove, you want to take this to a boil and then put it down to a bare simmer, like barely bubbling. And then you want to kind of let it hang out for hours. Probably easiest to probably do 8 hours and you get a pretty good stock. So the beauty of a slow cooker is that you can do this overnight, which is what I'm doing because it's already nighttime here. What I'm going to do is actually set it on high for 8 hours. And then in the morning when I get up after that 8 hours, I'm going to set it to low and then cook it for another 8 hours. So by tomorrow afternoon, night, I'll have a nice stock. Turn this on. The beauty about the Ninja's got all these different functions. Pressure cooker, you can steam, air fry, which is really just, look man, okay, it doesn't really fry. What this is basically a very compact and efficient convection oven. That's what air frying is. It's good. You can bake and roast on it, you can broil, and you can actually dehydrate stuff in here too. I'm going to use slow cooker, so... Oh, I need the lid. Hold on. So this is the pressure cooker / slow cooker lid. So if you're using the foodie to do this, normally you would seal the vents for a pressure cooker, but you're not going to. You want to make sure that it's not on seal, and then hit your slow cooker. So slow cooking on high. I'm going to set the time for 8 hours. Boom. And there you go. And we'll see you here. Well, I'll see you here in 8 hours. You'll see me here right. Right, so it's been 8 hours and it's been simmering on high on my slow cooker. You can see it's got a very deep color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep cooking it, but I'm going to put it on low for another 8 hours. Why do I do it so long? It's just, the more longer you do this, the more it extracts from the bones. Like true bone broth, I think they do it for like a week, but I don't have that much time. So we're going to do this for another 8 hours on low. So here we go. So I'll be back in 8 hours, but for you, it'll just be... All right, now it's been cooking on low for another 8 hours. So this is a 16-hour total slow cook. First 8 hours on high, last 8 hours on low. Why do I do that? I don't know. I did that the first time by accident, and it turned out fine, and I liked it. So that's what I do. If you can see, it's got that really nice gold color, and it's pretty clear. Sometimes when I've made this in a stock pot, it's turned out cloudy because there's either too much bubbles or I start skimming too much or whatever. But this is kind of what you were looking for, this nice, clear kind of stock. So what you're going to do is take this, get a big stock pot like this or whatever, and a fine mesh strainer so that we can dump out everything, keep the carcass, the vegetables, and all that kind of stuff, and then just have the broth. Obviously be careful. This can be very messy. This is very hot. Safety first. That's why I do this with my sunglasses on. But for the show, I need to do this in a weird angle so you can see it. Yeah, no, that's not going to work. So yeah, not the prettiest thing to look at, but end of the day, all this is here. You can see, like, the bones are pretty clean. Like, all the meat's kind of fallen off, the skin's kind of rendered down. All that infuses the broth. So, dropped a piece in here. So yeah. Now again, this is not super seasoned with salt, pepper, anything. This is basically the base ingredient of stock. So anything you use that requires any kind of stock, this is what you want, because basically it gives that slight flavor of chicken or turkey, and it gives it a little bit of body, which water doesn't have. So you know when you have like soup, and if you can feel like there's a mouthfeel to it, that's what the stock will do. If you just use water, you kind of lose that, and it's not as comforting, kind of. So, but I mean, technically, you can drink this. I'm gonna burn my tongue. So even like this, it's pretty good. Again, it's got a slight flavor. It's not bland at all. I mean, you can use salt and all that kind of thing. So it's a good place to start for a base for a soup. That's hot. It's good though. Now, what can you do with this? Obviously, you can make soup. I use it in sauces. When I make mashed potatoes, sometimes I use this instead of like milk to give it a little bit of moisture. So you have roast chicken and you have leftovers and you want to reheat it. I would actually heat up maybe a cup of stock and use that to warm up the chicken pieces and whatnot, because it won't dry it out and it adds a little bit more flavor to it. So what I do is I stick it in a whole bunch of these deli containers, put it in my freezer, and when I need it, I thaw it out and use that. So this gives probably a good eight cups, probably, around there. I don't know, a lot. It lasts me quite a long time. And by the time this is done, I'll probably would have saved up a bunch of chicken bones and vegetables. So again, the key to this is to use your leftover chicken and save your vegetable scraps. It doesn't just have to be celery, carrots, and onions. It can be like leeks. It can be any kind of greens, mushrooms. It'll all kind of work. So in a future episode, I'll show you how to make one of my favorite uses for stock, which is soup. So I'll be making a chicken soup and also a tomato soup. So stick around for that.